Hi, Adam Houston here for Market Club with your 1 p.m. market update for Monday, the 23rd of May. And what a way to start the week. Of course, the big story is the Greek problem, the Greece default or not paying up, whatever, Greek tragedy, however you want to frame it, it's still a major problem for all the markets. And as we've been saying for quite some time now, we've looked at the trade trials and they've been actually pretty spot on in all these markets. So let's go to the board. And let's look at the S&P 500, which is really taking it on the chin. We're down 1.32%, a minus 70. That was a minus 55 on Friday, so that went even further to the negative column. And we can look at this market and look at how this is working. I'm going to put our weekly trade triangles in, which is something we pay very close attention to. As you can see, basically from 1329, that was our exit point. We trade the monthly for trend, which is still positive, and the weekly for timing. So at 1329, which is basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days ago, we were out of this market. So that's why the trade triangles foretell of what's going on. There's no guesswork involved whatsoever. We are at the lower end of the Donchian channel. We may see a bounce, but the reality, the market has major support right around these levels, around 1300, 1295, 1300 should find major support. But nonetheless, the market is definitely in a conflab, longer term up, short term down. So let's see how this continues. But certainly neutral is the way to be in this market right now. So let's go to our next market, which is the silver market. And the silver is actually struggling to kind of keep up with the gold market. And it's not quite as strong. But as we've said, we've been going sort of sideways. And a couple of things have happened here. I'm going to look at get our pin up here and we'll do some little drawing on the screen. So the one thing we're looking at is basically this is the area the market's finding support right around these levels here. And we've seen sort of tight. I think eventually one or two things is going to happen. Either we're going to break down to the downside or we're going to go to the upside. And with our monthly trade triangle still in the positive mode, our daily's still positive. The only one that has to turn around is the weekly. And the weekly is what we determine as the medium-term trend. So if we turn this around, and I think we will, to the upside, I think we'll see a bounce back up to maybe the 40 level, where I think we should find some resistance. But nonetheless, I think at least for the moment, with all the financial problems around the world, people are going to be turning once again to metals. So let's see how that works out. So let's take everything off the screen. And go back to our portfolio manager and let's look at really the star everyone's looking at right now is gold plus 100. Does that strike anyone as unusual? No. The trend is your friend, and all of our trade triangles, if I can just point this out again, are still very positive on this market. Look, monthly 1430, market's at 14 right now. Weekly 1444, daily 1499. So again, everything is positive on this market. And here is the weekly trend right here. That's when we got long on the weekly. The market went up, came down. It's still in a positive mode. All three trade triangles are positive with a plus 100. Strong trend. Potential for this market once it clears this level here, right around the 1525 area, will be moving higher. But again, I would not want to be short this market. It could be potentially too explosive on the upsides. The parabolic is indicating uptrends, and we would expect to see this market move higher. So let's take everything off the screen once again, and let's go back to our portfolio manager, and it's easy to do with Market Club. And let's look at crude oil. We're looking at July crude oil, which is down a ton, $2.50 almost. It's down 2.4%. It's still a plus 80. And we've said this before, this market is at support, and that's the key thing. You're looking at a pull back to support, which is right here. You see how the market's just come down to that support level? I think that's going to hold because I don't think this market is going to go much lower. But look at we are monthly 86.70, still positive. Weekly 106.44. Market's $10, almost $10 lower than our weekly said to get out, and the daily is along 100.1. 1.2. So again, this is something to be concerned. It's kind of like a neutral range on trading, but nonetheless, around this level, around the 96 level, the July contract has good support. I would expect that to hold, and I think as this passes and we see things pick up, I think we could potentially see this market either continue to go sideways or eventually move back up. Watch the parabolic on this, and also watch the weekly trade triangle. When that kicks in, get prepared to get long this market. So clear everything off the screen. We're going to go back to the dollar index, which is right here. The dollar index is actually up. Again, people moving out of the euro and into the dollar. However, I'm not totally sold on this. I think the dollar still has a lot of problems. Here's the choice. You either choose the dollar or you choose the euro, or the Australian dollar, which is a much better choice in my mind. But the reality is, neither one is like, what's the worst thing you can possibly choose? Is it the dollar or the euro? They're both bad. So the reality is they could potentially go down. This is a dollar index we're tracking here, so it means that we're tracking about 14 different currencies. If you look at the euro, which we're negative on, it obviously is moving down against the dollar, so it's just weaker. It's the worst of the two, if that's a good comparison. But let's take a look at our next market. I think this on the dollar index, basically we got a plus 70, so a very broad trading range. With longer term, the trade triangles remain negative, which is right here, 81.45. Minor resistance at 76.50. We're 76.16 right now. And major resistance at 77.50. Minor support coming in at 75 right here. You can see one of the 75, I think it's 75 on the parabolic. So let's take a look and see how that works out. But again, not terribly enthusiastic on the upside of this market right now. Let's look at the last market, which is the Jeffries Index, the Reuters Jeffries Index, CRB as I often call it, minus 55. In a trading range. We are basically a couple of things here. Our monthly is negative and our weekly is negative, meaning a trend is really saying, the trade triangle is saying the trend is down here. We look to possibly be in a sideways market. If you look at this market for the past 2 or 3 weeks, it really has been on the upside around about 350, on the downside around 334. So it sort of stays in that range. You can see the action today as we get a little closer in. You can see it's just a very tight range, nothing going on per se. So I think you have to be a little bit skeptical about this market. But again, I think the thing to look at is the action itself. We've been sideways, not going down. Inflation is here to stay. The price of gasoline is still very expensive. The price of food is still very expensive. The price of everything you look at right now in raw materials is expensive. And partly is because the dollar's been going down. But again, this is playing out to be a Greek tragedy of major proportions. It's not going to go away. And even with President Obama in Ireland today, hopefully he's not pledging any more of our money to save Ireland, because Ireland is just like Portugal, just like Greece, just like Spain. They're not hard-working people necessarily. They're not like the Germans or maybe the French to a certain degree, but certainly not like the Germans. And this euro was, I think, set up to fail when it started. I think everybody thought this wonderful feeling about the euro being so wonderful, big united Europe, blah, 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 blah. Well, I lived in Europe. I grew up in Europe. My background is European. I can tell you right now, the Greeks don't want to work. Besides Ouzo, which is probably the most famous thing they've ever made, in Zorba the Greek, the movie, that is pretty much it. Now, let me not be disrespectful. Thousands of years ago, they had a great society, but that's past. We're living in right now when nobody wants to work in Greece. Same with Spain. It's siesta time. Mañana, mañana, mañana. How can you compare those people with the German people that want to work and work hard when they've worked very, very hard? So I think we've got a problem, and I think it's going to continue, and we have to be careful, but there'll be lots of opportunities to make money. So, hey, this is Adam Hewison. Thanks for stopping by for a 1 p.m. update. Our next update will be tomorrow, the 24th, so stay tuned, and we've got lots going on. So 1 p.m. updates every day.